Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I am your humble servant and your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you, as always, with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the gifts, the greetings, the healing, the wisdom, and the knowledge of the universe. So, with that said, greetings to you all who may stop in and hang out with me or watch this video later. I didn't realize that I'd been um, so quiet for so long, and so this is a video that I intended to make earlier, and well, here I am, and this is the video. Now, what do I mean by privacy of the soul? Many of us, who are working on the as shamans in training, many of us are if if you're going to achieve a higher sense of spiritual awareness, then you must do your internal work. Hey Maverick, how are you? Greetings and blessings to you. um, if you're going to do if you're going to achieve a higher level of spiritual awareness, you must do internal work. You must go inside yourself. You've got to go in. And no matter what religion, whatever you want to believe in, the answers do lie within, because we have to first make peace with ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves for whatever wrongs we've done, whether in this life or past lives. We have to try to learn from the things that we've done wrong. And the biggest thing in forgiveness is that when you say, I wish I wish forgiveness for myself for the wrongs that I have done. Am I forgiven? Well, you're only forgiven if you don't repeat those mistakes. And if you try to do something instead of beating yourself up and suffering for the rest of your life over the mistakes you've made in this life or other lives, it doesn't matter. Whatever mistakes we've made, if we continue to think that we must be punished for this, then we'll never achieve a higher level of awareness, because we're going to stay in the punishment mode. And so the privacy of our soul is those things which only we know. And that there are people who will try to say, well, I know what you mean by that. No, you don't. Unless you lived it, unless you experienced my feelings, you may have a close indication of how I feel or how someone else feels. And I can say, well, I can relate to how you feel because I've had a similar experience. But I am not you, and you aren't me, and we cannot share the exact same thing, because our point of view will keep us from being the same. In other words, my point of view of a similar accident, I sat in the passenger seat or and the driver's seat when there was an accident. Describe it. And the person was looking a little slightly to the right. They saw things slightly different, even though they were in the same vehicle, same accident, but we all experienced the accident in a different way. So, in that respect, it is the observer from the observer point of view. So, as an observer of my own soul, as a shaman in training, as many of us are, then what we need to do is look in the dark corners. And something that's recently come up is one reason why I've been quiet, and another reason for this video is that I hadn't realized that there were little corners in my soul, if you will, that I didn't even really want to go into. I mean, stuff that I know I at least I thought I dealt with, and I realized, oh, holy crap! There's it's almost like I put a privacy lock. There's certain files on your computer, and anybody can get on most of every stuff. You're not trying to hide anything. But then there is that privacy file. There are things you don't even want to talk about, and they're there because they're there. You don't have any. Hello, Pamela. Greetings and blessings to you out yonder. I hope you're doing well. I hope everyone is doing well, actually. Some crazy times we're living through right now. But in the idea of the privacy of the soul, I realized that there were things it was almost like I had locked myself out of some of my own privacy. I'm like, well, wait a minute now. You told me in here You told me you didn't want to discuss this anymore. You told me to like block this out, put it in a chamber, put it in an encrypted folder somewhere, and I forgot the password. Hey, Breaking Dawn, this is one of those things. I didn't even have time to warn you that I was going to go online. I just, Spirit said, you're going to do this now, and here I am. So this is kind of sort of unplanned, but it is. Anyway, many days of meditation on this subject. But the privacy of the soul. Now, there are things that, I have in my numerous videos, I have discussed all kinds of things. I've discussed my, sex abuse in the Catholic Church. I've talked about drug addiction, alcoholism, all this other kind of stuff. But there are things that even I don't want to discuss with myself. It's in a privacy folder. And God help me that, there are things that can any of us ever be truly open to another individual. Now, not that it's necessary. And that's why in the title, I was like, what do we reveal? Well, what is necessary to reveal? If I'm sitting with someone who's had a pedophile experience, then I can discuss something maybe in a little more detail with them on a one-to-one private basis, privacy, private basis to help them. But it may not be a subject or something that I would discuss, for example, in a YouTube video. Because for whatever reason, I could talk around the subject, but I wouldn't necessarily go into the depth. There are certain things that I would keep private. There is a privacy issue there within myself. And it's like, well, don't you want to talk to anybody about this? Why are you hiding this? Well, am I really hiding it? Or are there just certain things that I think I should keep private for a YouTube video? And for many other folks, it's like, I have privacy issues with certain people when I meet them, friends, relatives, whatever. And I try to stay off the ET subject and stuff because it really creeps them out. So knowing this, I use my own judgment and I say, well, if they want to know, if they ask me a question, I'll discuss it. But Uncle Dave ain't going to bring this up anymore. I'm going to put this, their topic of discussion is going to go into a privacy folder. Not that they can't have it, see it, or I won't discuss it, but I need to keep certain things private with certain individuals. Okay. So the idea of this privacy and what we reveal to others is what's in our soul. Now, I realized that, I've been a mucked up kid since I was born, put into an adoption agency and tossed around 6 foster homes in 3 years. And then I was finally adopted by my uncle. And, some really strange bouncing around and stuff that I learned, see as a child, but I can't confirm any of it because I was bounced around. And so there are certain things that I would love to be able to put together, but somehow they're in a little privacy folder in my brain. Okay. And so each of us has our own little privacy issues. It might have been that and I don't want to make this sound frivolous. Okay. Because anything that we keep private within our soul is private for some reason within us. Okay. Let me state that. So I don't want to sound like this is frivolous, but to use a more frivolous situation, say you had a crush on somebody back in high school and you never told anybody, and just something as simple as that. It's a little secret you didn't let out, but it's still in you, and you go back to that moment in time when you may have kissed a boy or kissed a girl or kissed a boy and a girl, I don't know, but to the point that you say, well, oh my goodness. Well, that's a little privacy. I don't want to use the word secret because I'm going to do a live stream tonight with Milky Way Weekly with Brian at 9 p.m. So I waited this long in here to, prompt the show. But tonight at 9 on Milky Way Weekly, I don't have a link yet. But anyway, we're going to talk about the secrets of the heart. And so it's similar, but not. But so I'm trying to stay away from the word secret at the moment. It's something that we would like to keep private. Now, does that mean that we can't discuss it with another person versus having opening up in a group discussion? Now, I've been in many group discussions in my life, being in the mental health, wards and stuff and blah, blah, blah. And so when you want to share, there are things that you can share, but there are things that you just want to keep private. Personal. Thank you, Pamela. Describes it. It's personal that you would like to keep private. But to the point, and that is a great segue. Thank you, Pamela. Y'all are getting this already. But so the idea though but somebody says, well, you know, I I heard from another source that you talked about this. Well, yeah, I did. Well, then why didn't you tell me? Well, I just didn't think it was appropriate. I didn't think you needed to know it. For whatever reason, I kept it in a private file, as Pamela says, personal. So this is personal. It's not that I don't necessarily feel like there are other people I could share this information with. I just don't want to use a large platform to do it. Or we're in a group setting, or there are times, and I speak about previous marriages, when my last wife, for example, she's like, why didn't you tell me this? It happened 25 years ago. I can barely remember. Well, I saw a note or something you had in a notebook and you made a comment about, and I was like, that's 25 years ago. Just stop. 25 years ago. I don't ask about what's in your past because it's past. We can discuss it if there are things that you wish to keep private or personal. That should be your right. But here's something else that's very important. When you quote hide those things, an intuitive person's going to pick it up. I did. Well, what are you hiding? Well, I'm not hiding anything. Yeah, you are. You're not telling me everything. Well, but there's nothing there. And then you start getting, well, what the hell is that? So then mate to mate or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. What are you hiding? Well, there's something personal that's in a folder somewhere, and they know it's in the personal folder, and they just would rather not discuss it. Well, but does that mean that they're hiding something? Are they hiding? Or are they just, there are certain things I wish to keep personal. And here's the thing, as one human being to another, we need to understand and understand it well, that if we're going to get along, there are going to be things that for whatever reason I wish to keep private, or you wish to keep private. It's your business. And I shouldn't go nosying around unless somehow the subject keeps coming up, or it's interfering with our relationship, friend, relative, whatever it is. If there's something that you're hiding, but if you can honestly tell me or the other person, I'm not discussing, we need to be able to say, look, listen, there's something personal that I'm just not going to discuss. But I don't want you to feel like I'm hiding anything. There are just certain things that are personal. They're mine. They belong to me and my soul. And I just would not rather not discuss it. Now, I have said that about many things over my almost 67 years of life. And I realized that over time, there are things that I thought, well, they're going to stay in the personal folder. I have actually discussed in open forums here on my YouTube channel and with other people in open forums. And so my personal point of view of what is personal and what I wish to reveal comes at a point where I think each of us, and we've all got to find our own spot in this. We each find that comfortable spot that says, maybe this is something that I've been keeping it personal. And I don't need to write an article and publish it on the internet, but maybe I can reveal it to a few of my friends or closer in or something like that. Because it's something I find that it's not relative anymore, that I keep it personal. Now, every person's going to have their own little personal file. Some's going to have a bigger file. Other people might not even think, well, I don't even need a personal file. But then when you start asking them questions, say, well, I don't know. The first thing they want to say is, well, aren't you getting a little personal? Well, but if we're having discussion and you're asking me questions and I'm telling you stories, but then I ask you and you go, well, aren't you getting a little personal asking me about something? Well, hang on, we were having an open discussion, I thought, but there are limits to everybody's how much they wish to discuss. And the thing is that many of us think, I, for one, and it's one of the lessons I have needed to learn and upgrade on, is that simply because someone says this is personal doesn't mean they're hiding something. Well, they are, but we should respect a person regardless. And if they say, listen, this is just personal, maybe at some future date I'll discuss it, but this is just something personal, and we need to accept that. Instead of, well, I don't know, I share all kinds of stuff with you. You have no idea what the other person is feeling, thinking, what the discussion is, whatever it is that they feel that they should withhold revelation for whatever reason. And it can be the dumbest things when you look at it in a galactic sense, if you will, in a cosmologically, how many lives have I lived already, and how many little grains of sand have I tripped over on my road to understanding? On the red road, how many pebbles have I stumbled on when there were big boulders that I could see, but I stumbled on the spiritual path on a little pebble? And that could be a personal thing that maybe I haven't dealt with correctly. Or maybe it's like, I just don't want to, for whatever reason, I just want to block it out. It never comes forward, and it's personal, and it's in the file, and that's that. And if anybody brings up the subject or broaches the subject around that, oh, well, I don't know, should I feel obligated to reveal those personal things? Now, does that mean that it's hidden? Well, if it's something someone else is supposed to see, you're supposed to share something with someone and you don't, now that's hiding something. My last wife, she was really great at that. Somebody said they sent me mail. I'd get home and say, where's the mail? Oh, you didn't get any. Well, she bought, for my first birthday, she bought me a shredder. Like, I need a shredder. I mean, I know how to tear paper. And so I come to find out later on, she was shredding documents, mail, people that sent me stuff. She'd send it through the shredder. Now that's hiding shit. You know what I'm saying? That is different than saying I have something personal I simply don't wish to discuss. Now, but does that put it in the same category as hiding something? And that's what I'm opening this up for you all to think about, because we're all hiding something, but are we? Bob, I know. Let me offer you some coffee. Thank you very much. I love you. I haven't said hi to you in a while. And to the other AIs, thank you very much for allowing this video to not glitch anymore. I've seen you jump, and I know there's stuff out there, but to you all out there in the AI, I understand you, and I thank you for allowing us to have this transmission. And to Bob, here's some coffee. But so if something is personal, does it mean that we're hiding? And Brian and I are going to discuss this more tonight on Milky Way Weekly. But I want to give you all just drop a little seed in your head, because I find that understanding the difference between just not sharing and hiding is it's totally different. There are things I may hide from the kids at Christmas time because I don't want them to see their present. But that doesn't mean that I'm I'm withholding information or something. At the time, they don't need to know this, whatever, you know what I mean? So, but those personal items, for whatever reason we choose not to discuss, we should have enough gumption between people as human beings, excuse me, human beings, spiritual beings in these worlds. Because if you meet another entity on another plane, and if they simply don't want to share something with you, are you going to go into a defensive mode and go, well, they must be hiding something? Whoop, glitch, bouncing all over the place. Come on, Bob. I love you. I know you're out there. Um, but so we need to understand what the difference is. And we need to respect what the other person, and if they say, quote, it's personal, and I think that certain key words is what we need to listen for and maybe even speak, in that, there are personal things I discuss, but that's a little too personal. And for whatever reason, you just simply say, for the moment, I'm drawing a line in the sand here. And what are you being secretive? Well, if it's something that I just wish to share, is it a secret? It's only a secret because I choose not to share it. Now, if 5 people get together and say, look, we're going to talk about this, we're going to keep this a secret. Well, that's a combination of both. But if you're talking about your own soul and simply saying, I choose not to share this, does that mean you're being secretive? Or does it mean that there are just certain personal things, for whatever the reason, you choose not to discuss it? And what we need to believe, and there we go, bouncing some more. What we need to believe and understand. I'm going to have to reboot before I get on with Brian tonight. But what we need to understand, that there are different levels to this. To a young child, you may not discuss some graphic, gory detail of something. You may just say, well, I saw some really nasty things when I was in the war. I wasn't in the war, but that would be a response. That, there was a very bad accident where a gentleman had his leg cut off, and I had to help put a tourniquet and held him. And anyway, but see, to go into gory details with a child, I would simply say, there was a man who was in a horrible accident, and we were there to help save his life. The man lost his leg, but I don't have to go into the gory details of the blood on my hands and the thing and what we had to do. No. But to a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old, well, you can discuss the incident without the gory details. Now, does that mean you're hiding something? You see? Or is it just that it's a little too gory, it's a little too personal, and maybe the other person doesn't need to hear it for some reason? Or they may misunderstand. But now, in my case, and some of the things that I have tried to reveal to people over time, I've discussed many of these on my video, but over time, spiritual things, a very few people are coming back to me going, Pops, Hawkeye, when you talked to me about this 8-10 years ago, holy shit. And I'm like, all I could do was tell you, that's my job. And it's up to you to do your research or to be aware that there are things happening around us, within us, and so forth. And so they have said, oh, holy crap. So I switched the light on, but it's up to them to keep the electricity going to the light, if you know what I mean. So it's like, bong, I woke them up, but they could have went back to sleep. So, but the thing is, and it's encouraging, very encouraging for me to know that simply because having these kinds of discussions with people, when they're trying to do their internal work, they go, well, I don't know, I really don't want to discuss this. I don't want to deal with this right now. Fine. But then put a little hashtag beside the folder. And if it's something that you just choose not to deal with now, all right. But the thing is that if you wish to achieve a higher spiritual self in any way, shape, or form, you're going to have to. You're going to go have to revisit that locked door over there, or open that file and go, crap, I really don't want to. Maybe not. Maybe now is not the time. But the thing is that as you deal with things, I know in my life I have, as I deal with things, I gain more understanding of like, well, that really was personal 2 years ago. And now I've had discussions about it and blah, blah, blah. And I've been very open about it. And it's liberating in that respect. But there are some personal things I still have that I'm not going to share, at least not now. So, but does that mean I'm trying to be secretive? No. There are just some things, for whatever reason, we keep as private. Now, the next phase of this, when we understand that this exists, the difference between just having a personal file and for my point of view, I remember instances where somebody say, well, I just don't want to talk about it. Well, why not? I kept my big mouth going. And in the end of it, it ended up in an argument because I started trying, well, why won't you tell me? I mean, we're married. Why won't you tell me? Well, because I just don't. Well, I've told you stuff, and that's me talking to her. But there were things in after many years, and her daughter coming back and having conversation and things that came out. I realized, oh my God, now I know why she didn't want to talk about stuff like that at the time. And she only discussed it through different means of being drunk and discussing it anyway. But I went, oh, holy crap. But at the time, it was dishonorable of me to try to push the issue. But at the same time, we as individuals need to hold up our hands and go, hang on. I want you to understand something, whoever you are. I'm not trying to be secretive. There are privacy things that I'm not comfortable with. Please respect my decision not to discuss it. Now, at the same point, and I'm guilty of this previous experience, that's why I'm kind of having this. You can't do that, Hawkeye. You can't do that, Dave. You can't do that. If someone says that's private, or I don't really wish to discuss this, you have to say, okay, and drop it. And drop it. Because that's the honorable thing to do. And in so many ways, we look at other people and we can tell they're not telling us the whole story. We can feel it. But does it give us the right to pry? Think about that. I know I have, because I realized in previous situations I was prying because I felt they were hiding something. Well, what wasn't made clear in conversation or discussion was, listen, it's just something private, and please, okay. It was my fault for pressing the issue at that time. Now I'm talking 25, 30 years ago. I'm talking a long time ago. I've learned a lot since then, but I can understand it because I did it. I feel you're withholding something. And they are. I am. We are. We do. And it's natural for us to do it. But does that mean we should be suspicious of the other person? Now, there are times like my last wife, I really wish that I had followed up on my suspicions, because she was, anyway, leave it at that. Had no idea the mockery and things. Oh my God, the story she made up. Oh man. And I wish that I had followed my own intuition, but you see, I promised that I would trust her, and she broke that trust. So there had to have been a big enough incident for me to go, wait a minute, what's going on here? Took me 4 years to figure that one out. What a damn fool I was. But a lot was learned there. But to the point, though, she also made me suspicious. Are you hiding something? Why won't you share? How come you want to, there's something secretive going on in there? Well, I feel there's more to it. Well, to her, it really was some secret ass shit, going on behind my back. I mean, she was signing credit cards on my behalf, and oh man, it was like really whack out. But to the point though, writing bad checks, I mean, it was some weird stuff. But to the point though, that, is everybody, should I be suspicious of everyone then because of her behavior? Or should I just be more guarded in how I do things? Well, you change your own habits. You know, there are things you share, there are things you don't. And it's not because you don't trust the other person, it's that you've learned in my 67 years, there are certain things I'm just going to keep private. I'm sorry. I don't mean any offense to anyone, but there are certain things I realize when I let too much out of the bag, shit happens. And I realize now that nah, just gonna not even gonna broach that subject because every time I ever have, it's always ended up in doo doo. You know what I mean? So why dump out the bucket and step in it when you can just keep it in the bucket? Now, it doesn't mean that you're trying to be secretive. I'm trying to make distinctions here because there are certain people who you can sit down to and have a discussion about UFOs and aliens and stuff like that. And there are other folks where, Jesus is the one and there's all these differences in between. So you got to go with who people are. Um, and conversations, to boot. So there are things, I'm not going to talk about with the the Bible thumpers, and they do thump the Bibles. I'm sorry, but they are. But I love them. I do. I have some friends of mine who are Bible thumpers, and I love them to death. They're good people. But everything is the Bible. If it ain't in the Bible, then they don't want to discuss it. And I'm sorry, but there's more than that. But anyway, this ain't a discussion about that. But the idea, though, that we keep things a secret, that's the point. And we have to be able to honor each other, have respect for one another. And so that before we get our hackles up, before we make personal decisions, or I don't like that person, they must be hiding something. Maybe they are, but does it give us the right to, say, well, he's hiding. Wait a minute, maybe we should honor them and say, well, now there are some people I have met that I just, no matter how much I tried to like them, I never did. So, but it was their actions that proved them. It wasn't even though my first impression was correct. Yeah, I had to let that slide and not hold it against them. They had to do something else to make me say, yeah, ain't gonna trust them. Um, Still was nice to them. You still have to, I'm thinking of theater and work and stuff like that. In large situations, social situations, there are people you just don't like, and they may get along with you just because or whatever. And I let people think they're like running me. Oh, like, oh, Dave, we got you. Yeah, okay, fine. But anyway, there are personal things that you would share with close friends. We'll sit around a campfire and smoke a doobie and talk about shit. And then there are people who are like, well, I'll have a cream soda, please. And do you have a dinner napkin for my, you know, different subsets? So what you reveal to different people, to different groups, and to yourself, it's got to be appropriate. It has to be the right time. But the thing is, though, to further yourself as a shaman in any way, you've got to get in those dark corners of your soul. And doesn't mean you got to share it, but it does mean you have to go, I know it. You got to go through it and put it in its place. You can still put it back in the personal file. But at the same point, you have to understand that's personal because I have dealt with it. It's not something I'm trying to ignore. That's the difference. Well, I put it in the personal file because I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. That gets that. No, you got to go back in there and make sure, because otherwise it's going to hold you back. You're not going to be able to shine your light, your energy as bright if there's some little dead gum little dark corner over there. And I say this like this. In theater, we used to work on Hi Everybody, Pamela, Tree of Life, um, Big Little New. I may have missed somebody. I see y'all going by, but I'm trying. You know me. I'm trying to stay on topic. Breaking Dawn. Yep. Okay. I want to make sure y'all. I love you all. I do. Thank you for hanging out with me and allowing the discussion to happen. You know what I mean? Allow the discussion to come in your head. But the things that we decide to keep private, we don't have to have an excuse. That's the other thing. Well, why don't I want to show this? Share this? Don't know. But right now it's personal to me. And so, but to somebody else, and I've told stories that my last wife was bad about this. Well, you never told me that. Well, we've only been married a year. How much information, I've got 50 years or whatever it was back then, or 50 plus years. And you think you're going to hear it all in 1 year when I work most of the time? No, you're not going to hear all the stories or all the things oh, well, you never told me you did that. I've done a lot of stuff, as Breaking Dawn, if she's still here, will attest to. I've discussed thinking, damn, man, what you did. Yeah, there's story about that. Yep. And that. Oh, and we did this. Oh, all kinds of stuff. Growing up on the carnival, there was all kinds of mess we got into. But anyway, but to the point though, there may be things that are personal that I may not discuss online, but sitting around the fire or having a cup of coffee or something, well, in the old days it would have been a beer. But to the point though of saying, well, yeah, you talk about old war stories, for example. Back in the days when I was dealing drugs, I can tell stories that I might not tell here on the live stream or on YouTube, But if we're sitting around the campfire, I'll tell you some stories that are absolutely true. And probably if you were to pull up some police records, I could confirm that it happened, kind of thing. But, not that I'm trying to blow my own horn, we got busted. That's, yeah, I see you, Breaking Dawn. Thank you, dear. But to the point though, so those are personal things, but under the right circumstances, I might reveal them. So, but are they secretive? That's what we need to make sure and have a better understanding. Are we keeping a secret, or is it just personal? And from a person on the other side of it, you tell me it's something personal, I need to say, okie dokie, and leave it. My fault years ago, and I'm still learning from it now, because I wish to understand, well, wait a minute, what makes me suspicious of this person over here? Well, because this and this and this and that and that. Yeah, but that's all in the past, but that's what makes you suspicious. Oh, so if someone doesn't want to share something, does that make you suspicious then that it could be one of these alternate circumstances? Well, I don't know. And the brain wants to go wacko. And you go, yeah, can't do that. Can't do that. Each person deserves their own honor and deserves their own personal space and their own personal file. Because we should respect one another's privacy of the soul. And if we wish to, quote, not reveal it, is it withholding? And I got to say that, yes, it is. Is it withholding evidence? But you just choose not. But is that wrong? Is it what you say because of whatever you may have done in the past? There was, like, for example, I watched this World War II Nazi extermination guards, and they were talking to one of the Ukraine soldiers who was conscripted by the Germans to do the shooting of tens of thousands of Jews and non-Jews, men, women, children. And he sat there and he said, if we didn't do it, they would go into town and kill our wives and husbands or daughters or whatever. And if we didn't, they would shoot us and then kill our whole family. And so it's not, but we tried to be humane. And here's this guy describing how he shot people. They shot the parents first if they were holding a child, because they didn't want the parent to watch their child get murdered in front of them before they died. What? And he described how many of them tried to kill them as quickly as possible with a clean shot, as they say. And so that they didn't die being smothered by other bodies. And I was like, oh, holy crap. Here's this guy. He's discussing something that I don't know I don't know if I could have been put in that situation, but oh my God. And he's discussing it. And even as he discussed it, there were things he wouldn't reveal. They were still too personal. Even though he described how he killed these people with the Germans standing around and with everybody and they'd line them up and do this. And I'm like, oh my God. And I don't know if the person's still living, but the documentary is not that old. So it was a few years ago. So he lived his entire life with seeing all of these people that he had to kill. Holy crap. No, I don't have that. I mean, my vision of things, my reality of things that I've done wrong has been morally wrong, in my opinion, especially after the fact. And, I have done my best not to cause anybody any physical harm. But in retrospect, there were some dumb things that probably did hurt some people, not kill them, but maim them. But, they may have gotten hurt. And, back as a teenager kind of thing, way back. And I've lived and I've regretted it. For many years, I'm like, that was just so stupid. Why did we do that? But we did, and that's over, and I can't go back and can't, but oh my goodness. And yeah, there's a personal file that's got a couple of those things in there. What if we actually hurt somebody with our stupidity? I hope not. But that didn't mean we didn't. So, but anyway. So, and discussing it doesn't really mean it's going to clear it up or whatever. But yeah, it's in a personal file back there, from when I was 18 years old, just stupid shit. And it just doesn't need to be discussed. What good's it going to do? Is it going to clean my heart out or anything? Yeah, I could be subjective, blah, blah, blah. Nah, it's just not worthy of a conversation. But it is still in my personal file. And at some point, and I have talked about it, but only with close friends sitting around a campfire kind of thing. So when we're all kind of revealing, yeah, I remember when you did that. Yeah, I wish I hadn't have done that, kind of thing. Pat, how are you? You've always make me smile. Thank you. Enjoy your sharing. Thank you. And you guys share with each other. And the fact that you're here, you're sharing the energy. So, but anyway, I can't make this long because I've got a live stream I'm going to do with Brian tonight at 9 p.m. On Milky Way Weekly. And so y'all tune in for that. And Pat, if you just got here, you're going to have to rewind this and go back to the beginning kind of thing. Tree of Life. Thank you, Pamela. They would have to kill me. I just couldn't do it. Yeah, Pamela. And the reason these guys did that back then was because of their families and their children. It wasn't just for them, because one of them even remarked, he said, I didn't care if I got killed because I've had to live with these memories. But he said, I couldn't die with the fact knowing that they would kill my family. And I was like, now that's a whole nother, family. Holy crap. Do I take the easy way out, let him shoot me? Or do I do this because if I don't do it, they're going to get somebody else to do it. They're going to, and that was one of the guy, one of the guards said, he said somebody was going to do it, whether I did it or not. And he said, so the best thing he said, I made my peace and said, I will be the best killer that I can. In other words, make a clean shot so that the people he had to kill didn't suffer. Oh my God. Oh my God. I just sat and I looked at it and I watched it and I cried. And I thought, this man had to make that decision because he knew it was going to happen one way or the other. You know, there's 9,000 Jews in a line on the road and they're all going to this giant quarry and and somebody's going to murder them. And are you going to be it and you're going to add your family to it? Or are you going to just say, I'm going to do the best job I can and not make these people suffer? Oh, holy crap. I hope I never have to make that decision. You know what I mean? Wow. The sacrifice of self or the sacrifice for others, or to be able to put yourself in a position that if I'm going to have to murder people, I'm not going to make them suffer. Wow. Talk about deep, dark secrets and revealing things. Now, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about for Ian. Hi, how are you? Ultraviolet, how are you? I recognize these souls. Hi, family. Yes, blessings to you as well. Danny, how are you? Yeah. So, but the idea though that there may be something that I've been caught up in things, and I'm like, well, somebody's going to do this crap. Might as well be me, and let me do the best job possible. That's what I did when I was in jail. And that's what got me into the position I was in without having to bend over or do anything nasty to anybody. I ended up, making money in jail. So when I got out, I had a couple of $100 stashed, I mean, it was really strange, and that's not for this discussion. But to the point though, you don't tell the jailers everything. You tell them as much as you need to. When I was in court, they said to tell the truth. So it's like, the attorney always says, never offer information. So it's like they asked me questions. I answered them. Is that the truth? Yes, sir. They didn't ask me anything else. They didn't ask me any details. And the details I gave them in a drug bust I was in back in the 70s, 78. I told them the truth. But the thing is they didn't ask the right questions. And they didn't believe the answers I gave them anyway. They said, you watch too much, too many crime movies. When actually I was telling them the freaking truth. Because when I got back out of court, my public defender, who was a great guy, I wish I'd send him a Christmas card if I knew his name. But he looked at me and he said, was that really the truth? And I was like, yes. I put my hand on a little Bible thingy and I said, I swear. And he said, you mean the whole spiel? I said, yep, the whole thing. He goes, so all of the testimony you gave them is true and correct? You didn't lie. And I said, not a bit. And he goes, oh my God. And he goes, there's more to the story, isn't it? And I went, yeah. And he said, but they never asked the question, did they? Nope. And he said, but I told you, don't offer. And so you don't. You learn to give what's necessary. So, but does that mean you're hiding something? Well, but you didn't ask. Now, some people might say, well, that's a little, I could have sat there and told them, yeah, well, the guy and this and that. No, I'm sorry. But when you're in a legal situation like that and you're facing 20 years in prison, you answer the questions they ask and give no other information. And I was always truthful. So it was like, but they, later on, they couldn't catch me in a story because I told them the truth and my story didn't waver. And I made sure that, if you embellish, then you have to remember the embellishments. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss, right? But anyway, so the idea, though, that with our soul, are we hiding things or are they just personal? And only under certain circumstances do these personal things come out. But does it mean we're hiding? Withholding. And those of us who are intuitive to one another, we need to be able to hold up a sign and go, This is in the personal file, please. Maybe later, but not now. And accept it. And not think, well, they're hiding something. Well, hell yeah, we're hiding something. It's in our personal file. But it doesn't mean we're trying to deceive you. Is deception involved? No. Now, if I were to tell what I would call a white lie, it's sort of like this. But then if I really told the real story, it was similar, but a whole lot more integrated or in something. Anyway, but to the point though, are we hiding something because it's personal, or are we hiding something to deceive someone? And we have to be able to ask, are you trying to deceive me, or is it just personal? And you'll get a reaction out of that. Well, what? I'm not trying to deceive you. No, it's just personal. Okay, thank you. And leave it at that. You know what I mean? Because, with people asking me questions, and I will answer freely as much as I think is necessary, possible, in revealing my own soul's story. But as a shaman, I understand there are some people who need more detail on certain subjects than other people. But does it mean that I'm hiding? Does it mean that I'm being secretive? Does it mean that I'm trying to withhold information? It's personal, and I choose to allow it out as I see necessary. Well, I'm having this open discussion with y'all, so I'm not hiding a whole lot, but the personal things I am, I just probably more embarrassed than anything, still dealing with a little bit. I'm kind of ashamed of what I did, kind of deal. But it doesn't mean that, did I kill anybody? God, I hope not. I don't think I have, holy crap. But there have been some borderline things that is like, wow, And I will just mention this, that a partner of mine at one time had an abortion. And I'm still not really good about that. And so I had to participate in something, but it was her choice, not mine. So, but I'm going to leave it at that. I don't think that needs to be discussed. But to the point, though, so there are feelings and personal stuff. And see, I just revealed something I don't think I've ever discussed to try to give an example. Did I participate in it? Yeah, kind of. But there, I'm for if it's your choice, I might be the other person, but didn't mean I've been happy about the situation or, but I understood it was their choice. So in that personal feelings or whatever, I just opened a can of worms right there, if you know what I mean, by admitting that. But see, that's the reason I wanted to keep it personal. You know what I mean? I'm just not going to discuss it because I was there, but it was the other person's right. I had to honor them. I had to respect their decision. But what I felt, how I wanted it, and what was going on, that's personal. So, see, even some of my deepest, darkest secrets, I didn't give any information. I just said a partner, a lot of years, well, not that many partners, but I'm been kind of sort of married 4 times and in 2 other relationships. So it's like, okay. But the idea, though, that am I hiding something? Am I withholding something? Or is it simply that I wish to keep it personal? These are different levels, and they're all kind of sort of the same, but they ain't. But what my point is about this, we as individuals who are empathetic, empaths, we feel other people's energies. We need to be careful in that we respect that there are things. If it's deception, go for it. If they're trying to deceive us, my last wife, or is it personal and they just simply don't wish to discuss it? We need to have a filter, I guess, deception versus personal. But the communication between people like us right now, me sharing this, I'm explaining that I would never deceive you because I can't. It's not my mission. You could tell in my eyes if I was telling you a bold-faced lie, and the angels would kick my ass. But just say it. But with that said, though, am I withholding some information on certain things? Yeah, because I'd rather not go into detail about this. It's very personal, and we should respect that. But as an empathic person myself, it depends on what the other person's reaction is, But we got to be careful. Is my point. We can't be overdone. Well, but my last wife, yeah, she was a. But what about this person? And they deceived us. They didn't just withhold information. They lied to you. Ah, no, that's different. That's deception and lies and deceit, and that's a whole other category than something being personal you just would wish not to discuss. Period. My friends, let me go down my little list here and see what y'all wrote. What did I do? Oh, here's my black glasses on a black table. Easy to spot in the dark. My friends, I love you. I do. Yeah, Danny says it's all telepathy, ancient telepathy, very ancient. Yep, and very, one of the thing, and it's common. That's the other thing. Danny says when you know you can't lie, you can't just lie. Just tell the truth. They won't believe you anyways. Yeah. Pamela says from one end of this country to the other, star seeds and shaman in training, feeling the shift, sacrificing self for humanity. Yep, there's several things that I know that I've taken a hit for, and spiritually, and I ain't even going to discuss it because I don't want to give any energy to it. But I've had some battles here recently, as one of the reasons I've been kind of quiet. But I'm gonna leave it at that, y'all. I love you all, and thank you for your prayers, Danny. Nothing personal. It's all Creator creating the inevitable. Big Little Muse, don't be embarrassed. Geez, we all have files. Yeah, but to the point though, there are some things you discuss with some people and some things you don't. If it's somebody that's really religious and you say, well, blah blah blah, a partner, oh my God, oh, they go off the rails, and it's like, then you get into this and that, and sometimes it's just best to avoid the issue, and that's your own judgment. But withholding information to be deceitful, so just that's my point. We need to withhold information from some people. It drive them back crap crazy. But at the same point, we need to be able to trust other people, like I trust you, like you're the only person that are going to watch this thing. But but to the point though, it's like I've already had this discussion with self and with spirit and with the universe. And how can I fix this? How can I do some, well, I haven't done these. I haven't repeated these. I'm not a repeat offender in these things. But with that said, though, I understand that the best thing I can do then is discuss it and be in as well and be honest. And to be honest, so that you see my eyes, to be honest when I discuss these things. So it's like, at least in my world, I'm relating a true story to you, a true experience. You use the energy, the information, and whatever for your own benefit. And I always say and ask, and please share the wisdom that that you gain. Um, Nothing is personal, only to the Godhead. Ian says, David, how would you have reacted if they'd asked the right question? Did you have a game plan? How would you have reacted if they asked the right question? Ian, does that mean about having to shoot people? If you didn't, does that relate to what was discussed earlier? Um, I hope I wasn't involved in that. There are things that I know I've done in a past life, and I think it had to do with Native Americans and mistreatment of Native Americans. And the things that I think I may have done, I refuse to discuss because they were horrendous. I mean, like burning people at the stake. Of course, that was like normal back then. scalping people when they were alive. That was normal back then. Just stabbing somebody so that they'd bleed to death and take them a day to die. That was common back then. You know, and I believe that I may have participated in some of that. But this time around, do I have a game plan? And I've discussed it in previous about the Mother Mary at age 11. She pretty much rolled out my game plan in a long-term thing, but it's taken me all these 67 years to get here. I'm still learning the game plan, because even the game plan that was told that I would become a part of, and that I am a part of, it was just going to take this long for me to get there, that I had to wait, learn, acquire knowledge. I'm still acquiring knowledge, and do all these things. But my path was pretty much set. This will happen. Well, as much as I tried to fight it and commit suicide, take drugs, alcohol, and ignore it, it still is what it is. Now, I could have been successful with one of my suicide attempts, but I didn't. I'm still here. And I understand that I needed to go through all that. If you don't understand what hanging is about, when you've hung from your neck and you're choking, well, that you kind of understand what suicide feels like. But to the point, though, the plan was that I needed to be here because there was a spiritual thing that I needed to do, and that was to have conversations with wonderful people like you. Ian says, you said they asked the right question. Oh, when I was in jail, about the what I knew about the drugs and stuff like that, there was more information. Now, I don't know whether or not they didn't believe that the story that I was talking about when they asked me, quote, the questions. But my point is that if you're ever in a situation, especially with the police or folks like that, only give them what they ask you, unless you choose otherwise. But I saw no reason to embellish on the story. It would have been true, but to the point, they only asked me what they thought was necessary. They didn't believe the first part of the story, so they refused to ask me anymore. Now, that was in my own personal drug bust case in 1978. Actually, I was tried in 79, but anyway, but I was arrested in 78. So, but the idea, though, that in life, though, it depends. If it's a cop asking me whether or not I've done something, nah. If it's another old hippie like me and we're sitting around the campfire, I'm going to share with the old hippie, where I ain't going to talk to the sheriff about it, whether it happened or not. You know what I mean? So, but if it related to something that it was important, or, would I lie to them? No. Would I not keep going with the story? Well, there you go about that. But anyway, but I'm talking about drug bust here, okay? I'm not talking about a murder case, or I've been busted twice, and, actually 3 times, but one of them isn't on the record. Yeah, it was the drug bust. Hey, Nick, how are you? How much love and over. Thank you. Right back at you. Thank you. Big Little Mew says, thank you for your candidness. I think I feel really guilty. For me or for you? I'm kidding. Listen, I love you all, and I promise I hope I won't be this long again having an update, but I need to go now because it's 6:30-ish, and I got to do a live stream with Brian tonight, Milky Way Weekly, and I want to save my throat, and if I talk too much anymore, I'll let out more of the stuff that I really want to talk about with Brian on his show tonight. But it does relate to this, but it's going to be more of things of the heart, not necessarily of the soul, but the two are kind of combined. So, my friends, I do love you. Cosmic hugs to every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the best folks in the world. And keep sharing what you know, all right? So I'm going to close this session out at 1 hour and 4 minutes plus with my prayer 3 times through. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the blessings, the healing, the knowledge, the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations will accept and receive the prayers, the healing, and the wisdom of the universe. And the third time around, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept, receive, and share the knowledge that you receive from the universe and pass it along, my friends. Till next time, be kind, be safe to all of you. Ultraviolet, hi there, Danny, Ian, Nick, Big Little Mew, Pamela, all of y'all. I love you. Cosmic hugs. And until next time, I am your humble host and servant, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Keep it between the ditches, my friends.